Over the weekend at BitSummit, Inti Creates announced 2 new games for the Nintendo Switch. One of them is the Striker Gunvolt Striker Pack that includes both Gunvolt games with redone menus to accommodate the Switch's single screen, increasing the frame rate to 60 FPS for the first time in the series, HD text and image assets, including all the DLC from the 3DS version, and even features the debut of a new song from Lumen. While Gunvolt coming to the Switch is exciting indeed, there isn't much to talk about since we played Gunvolt 1 and 2 before. So instead, I'm going to be talking about the other game announced at BitSummit, Mighty Gunvolt Burst. Things have finally settled down a bit since the reveal in which we got a trailer, live streamed gameplay from Twitch, and Inti Creates' own official website filled with information. So it's time once again to take a closer look and analyze every single frame of video and every screenshot, and enlist the help of Google Translate to find all of the secrets and hidden details that we possibly can. Let us begin by discussing the game in general. As you can tell by the name, this is a crossover game featuring the worlds and characters of Mighty No. 9 and Striker Gunvolt. Mighty Gunvolt Burst positions itself as a sequel of sorts to the original Mighty Gunvolt game, but this time Akuro from the Galgun series is not present, at least right away. But wait a minute, you ask, why make another game about Mighty No. 9 after that bad reputation it's gotten? Well, let's hear what Inti Creates themselves have to say about the birth of this game. We really enjoyed creating the original Mighty Gunvolt back in 2014, and with our duties for the Mighty No. 9 project being long over at this point, we began to miss working with these characters that we love, and wanted to share Beck and his mighty siblings with the world once again. Concept gave us the okay to use the rights to these characters however we see fit, and free of charge too. And from there, we set out to bring them back to the stage in the best way we know how. 100% pure Inti Creates 2D side-scrolling action with excellent pixel art. Interestingly, they also stated that Concept has had nothing to do with this game beyond lending them the IP. Not even Keiji Inafune, the mastermind behind Mighty No. 9, has had any involvement whatsoever. So as you can see, this game is positioning itself as a redemption for Beck and his mighty siblings by basically recreating the original Mighty No. 9 game, but with more satisfying gameplay mechanics and in a true 2D style game that blurs the line between 8-bit and 16-bit graphics with beautiful pixel art. I mean, let's be honest here, the game may as well be titled Mighty No. 9 Redemption featuring that Gunvolt guy and Knuckles. Conspiracy theory! Remember the promised 3DS and Vita versions for Mighty No. 9 that still haven't seen the light of day? What if Mighty Gunvolt Burst is the true handheld Mighty No. 9? Well, conspiracy theories aside, we'll get into how this game is shaping up momentarily. Now, the namesake of this game is the burst combo mechanic. When you defeat an enemy up close, they explode in a stylish way, and you can begin racking up a combo for each consecutive enemy that you defeat in this way. Not only will your combo be added to your score at the end of the stage, but Inti Creates also mentioned that there is an incentive to rack up combos to make certain abilities last longer than usual. What those abilities acquired from burst combos do is unclear, but in Mighty No. 9, Beck would receive buffs such as increased attack, defense, speed, and even piercing shots. So it could be somewhere along those lines. This burst combo system is truly like an easier to understand form of Beck's absorption ability from his original game. Except you no longer have to dash into enemies after weakening them. All you have to do is deal the killing blow while up close. You don't lose your combo when you take damage either, so it's very lenient in that way too. Speaking of, do you remember Beck's absorption ability? Yeah, that's gone. Instead, Beck is a true Mega Man clone through and through in this game, and with no needlessly complicated mechanics, just his trusty buster and special weapons to jump and shoot to his heart's content with. And suddenly, I hear the cheers of many people. Oh, and talking about special weapons, that brings me to the last major mechanic that I need to talk about. In my previous analysis video, I proposed the idea that CP stands for combo points. Well, I was way off the mark because CP ended up representing something far more awesome than I could have imagined. CP actually stands for cost points. What are they for? Well, Mighty Gunvolt Burst introduces a very deep customization system in which you can edit your shots in a ton of ways, including enabling diagonal and charge shots. You can even increase your character's parameters such as attack power and defense. Cost points represent the boundaries in which you can customize your character, as each part you select uses up a certain amount of CP, and if you exceed that limit, you can't equip the custom weapon. Your maximum CP can be increased by picking up certain items and clearing stages. In addition, Some custom options can inflict negative statuses in exchange for lowering CP consumed. However, I could not find any examples of what these negative statuses do exactly, but presumably they could work like the Navi customizer bugs from Mega Man Battle Network that range from HP bugs, lowering your stats, messing with your movement controls, to messing with your buster itself. For using these negative statuses, you will earn bonus points for the handicaps at the end of the stage. Now, if you watched my previous analysis, you may remember the mysterious rectangle with 01 inside on the left side of the screen. Back then, I couldn't quite figure out what it means, but thanks to the new footage, that mystery has been solved as well. This square is also linked to your custom weapons as it shows which one you have equipped. As for the icons that appear there in certain screenshots, that is because an icon is created when you create a new custom weapon. You can change the icon with the new pixel stickers that you can collect throughout the levels. There are over 100 pixel stickers to collect, and they can be obtained by discovering them, rare drops from enemies, and other ways. Also, your collected pixel stickers are shared throughout all of your save files. Pretty nifty, right? But this analysis has only just begun because now that I've gotten the basics out of the way, it's finally time to look through the footage. And to truly kickstart this, get it, kickstart? Let's take a tour of the playthrough of the intro stage of the game, courtesy of the Twitch livestream. The game boots up to the Mighty Gunvolt Burst logo, which looks reminiscent of the Mega Man ZX Advent logo, a game that was also developed by Inti Creates. We are then presented with two options, Game Start and Options. Upon selecting Game Start, we enter the file select screen that also reminds us of Mega Man ZX Advent, and we get to take a peek at an already existing save file using Beck. There are 8 save files to choose from, a completion rating which is 5% in this case, the player's maximum CP, the icon for your currently equipped custom shot, encounters for treasure which might represent rare items, gems which probably represent your total score, and your total playtime. Upon starting a new game, we see the nicely done player select screen. Aside from the obvious, we have a description of the character that scrolls underneath their sprite. Allow me to read that to you. Beck is a robot created by Dr. White, who has the ability to think and feel. His ability to absorb cells from robots and learn their abilities has been disabled during this training session, so he no longer has access to those abilities while stuck in this virtual world. His only weapon is a new armament entrusted to him by Dr. White. So there you have it. They did indeed outright remove his cell absorbing abilities, as I said earlier. Now he's a true Mega Man X? Seriously, I get X vibes from that because of the ability to think and feel sentence. I'll go ahead and read Gunvolt's character profile too. He is an adept, a person who possesses supernatural septimal powers, who can control lightning. The soul of a girl named Jewel, aka the Muse, resides within him. Ever since he was brought to this strange new world, his septimal powers has been severely weakened. Although, his gun and his astrosphere skills seem to be in order. When Gunvolt is in grave danger, Jewel will appear to bestow her protective powers upon him. We also see that only Beck and GV are playable. However, there is quite a bit of empty space on this line of mugshots, isn't there? Could there be more characters you can unlock through gameplay or as part of DLC? We may have the answer to that question because it has been confirmed that they are working on bringing Ekiro from Galgun to the game after launch, and there are more characters to come. But for now, we'll have to make do with Beck and GV. And with that, it is now story time again. I'll go ahead and read you each character's story now, starting with Beck. Beck has successfully returned his 8 robot siblings who were rampaging all throughout the nation back to normal. Hoping to be better prepared for such situations in the future, Dr. White expedited the completion of an advanced weapon system that he had been researching for a while. Beck was training while deep inside a virtual world made by Dr. White, but when he completed his session, he wasn't able to leave. That is when he met a young man named Gunvolt, who by his own power trapped Beck inside this virtual space. Will Beck be able to escape this virtual world and reveal Gunvolt's intentions? Now for Gunvolt's story. While on a mission to try to get back Jewel's powers, Gunvolt was swallowed up by a mysterious light. Next thing they knew, they were in an unknown new world, where they had a chance meeting with a robot boy named Beck. It was at that point Beck forcibly entered Gunvolt into a competition called the Super Mighty Battle Showdown. Will Gunvolt and Jewel be able to escape this world and discover the source of the mysterious light that brought them here? Interestingly, the way GB's story is set up makes it sound like it takes place during the events of Gunvolt 2 after Jewel's power was broken up into shards. That is, assuming this is canon in any way. As for the story itself, I get some Mega Man Battle Network 5 vibes from this. Specifically the scenario where a fake Searchman or Numberman, depending on the version, tricks Mega Man into thinking that they're evil. A fake Mega Man was present too to trick the others. If you replace Searchman / Numberman with Gunvolt and Mega Man with Beck, you basically have the plot of this game. Anyway, it seems like some unknown force is trying to pit GV and Beck against each other. Could Teseo from Gunvolt 2 be behind all this? He does seem like the only guy we know that could cause this sort of thing. But if so, the mastermind wasn't so hard to figure out, was it? Oh, and the bit about being inside a computer? I only have one thing to say about that. Hey, remember Mega Man Extreme? Now we arrive at the stage select screen. On the bottom right, there is a box of icons inside. Normally, I wouldn't know what the Japanese text says, but with the powers of Google Translate, we can read it. The title of the box says Rare Items. Most of the ones here look like custom shop parts. As for these fidget spinner looking things, we'll come back to that. On the top right corner, there's an icon for a menu we can open by pressing the X button. We get a glimpse of that menu in the trailer. It has 3 selections: challenges, collections, and options. Now challenges could go either one of 2 ways. First, we could go all Mega Man 9, 10, and Mighty Number 9 up in here with preset challenges that take place in stages of their own. Or second, it could be a list of conditions you can meet, like defeat 100 enemies, and let's be honest, it's probably the latter. Collections is where you can view all of your pixel stickers. Options is self-explanatory though, we don't ever get to see what those options are. Okay, let's turn our attention back to the forefront where we have Beck and the icon for the city, the intro stage that returns from Mighty Number 9. Now the way this screen is laid out looks very similar to how the original Mighty Gunvolt stage select worked, where you had to take on the row of stages in order. This led me to believe that Mighty Gunvolt Burst would be the same linear affair as last time, which would be disappointing if true. But let's go back to the X menu seen in the trailer. Except we're not going to look at the menu itself, rather take a look to the left of the menu, and in the darkness we can see a stage select screen that's been filled out a lot further. In fact, to help see things, let's brighten things up here. Notice how the city stage is still in the middle and there are other stages on the top and the bottom, indicating that stages can be flipped through like a vertical roulette wheel. But more importantly, this discovery makes it much more likely that we can select stages in whatever order we want in standard Mega Man fare. Okay, let's take a look at the icons from top to bottom. The top 2 ones here are the tricky ones actually, because I looked across both Gunvolt games and Mighty Number 9, but I didn't see any levels that resemble these, except for Teseo's stage from Gunvolt 2, which would be odd because spoilers, we already have all 8 mighty numbers accounted for, which would make up the typical 8 main stages for a Mega Man game. The only thing that clues me in about the topmost one is what looks like a conveyor belt, so maybe that's the military base, battalion stage? But that may be stretching it a little. So, are we seeing Gunvolt 2 stages, or could these be training levels that take place inside the computer? The story does mention that Beck is here for training after all. But hey, we could also be looking at the final stages of the game. If Teseo is the big bad in this game, maybe that's where he's hiding. However, we can pinpoint the one down at the bottom as the oil platform, Pyrogen stage from Mighty Number 9. There's even the broken down truck from the original game screenshot. Moving back to the gameplay, when the stage is selected, your CP is displayed up top while 2 options appear at the bottom. Start the stage and customize, meaning you can freely customize your shots before you begin the stage. Nifty! Alright, we wasted enough time looking at menus, so let's actually play the game, shall we? Let's run through the city. When the level begins, the screen turns digital before generating the city, and Beck digitizes into existence. We really are inside a computer. And then, the music kicks in, and people who have played Mighty Number 9 may recognize it because the soundtrack is identical to the 8-bit version of Mighty Number 9's soundtrack.
Powerful bosses lie in wait for our heroes! Are you up for the challenge?
Conspiracy theory! The retro soundtrack stretch goal was actually for this game. They knew! Now for the run through of this stage. I'm going to focus in on just a point of interest as we go through. But first, can we just take a moment to appreciate how smooth Beck's animations look? Inti, you did good. Alright, let's... wait. I get the sense that TGP is yelling at the screen right now for me to say something. Oh yeah! Beck doesn't trip anymore. You're welcome, bro. First, we have a strawberry on the ground here. Moving forward, we walk by this green terminal with an icon telling the player to press up on the D-pad. This player just runs by it though, so its true purpose remains a mystery. However, I think it is safe to say that this is a checkpoint that you can activate on your own volition. I do wonder if activating checkpoints have consequences such as resetting your combo similar to the Gunvolt games, but it's impossible to say for sure, and that's probably not the case at all, for being honest here. Oh, and while on the subject, I want to talk about the retry counter for a second. Do you notice how it reads 0? That is because there are no game overs in Mighty Gunvolt Burst. Instead, you just keep returning to the last checkpoint until you clear the stage. This was done to allow players of all skill levels to give it their all and beat the game. Thus, rather than telling you how many lives you have left, the retry counter counts how many times you died. Well, at the very least, streamers won't have to make their own death counters anymore. We defeat some enemies that we remember from Mighty number 9 until this one here drops a pixel sticker depicting a bow. This is sticker number 122. There is also an apple, and Beck picks up this fidget spinner thing. Yes, the same weird fidget spinner thing from the rare item list. As for the function, that will come into play in a bit, so let's keep going. Beck defeats another enemy, and they drop another pixel sticker, but we don't get to see what it is. After a series of ladder climbing, we reach the top. Along the way, you can see Dr. Sanda's logo in the background, which reminds you that we're heading towards his lab. There's fidget spinner number 2 right here, which Beck skips. Don't know why, but sure, you do your own thing. But he does pick up a candy item. Notice how the candy gets added to the right side of the screen. This happens for each food item that Beck picks up. Now in the original Mighty Gunvolt, food items increase your score upon picking them up. However, this time, the score didn't increase at all. Perhaps the food items are added to your score at the end? Or, here's a crazier idea. Because after this, the player accesses the pause menu. There are 4 options here. From top to bottom, they are translated as Customize, Stock Item, Options, and Give Up. The option I want to draw your attention to is Stock Item. Is it possible that you can use the food item you stocked up to refill your health? That would be pretty interesting if so. Also, look at the bottom here. See this 1 out of 3 right here? Looks like there are 3 pages worth of options that you can toggle with the L and R buttons. Next, we get to take a deep dive into the wonderful world of customization. Time to kick Google Translate into overdrive. First, the most obvious observation. There are slots up to 24 different custom shots, allowing for a ton of variety. Now let's take a look at Beck's maximum CP. It's gone up by 7 points since we last saw it. But what could have caused that? Well, the natural assumption is that Beck picked up a special item between the beginning and this point. And what is an item that we don't know the real function of yet? That's right, the fidget spinner thing. That appears to be the item you want to get to increase your max CP. And a measly 7-point increase makes sense because remember, the player skipped the second fidget spinner thing. There is also another X button menu up here, which could be where you access your pixel sticker collection to swap icons with. Alright, let's edit shot number 2 and get down and dirty with some customization options. Quick disclaimer though, I am using Google Translate, so while I did my best to get the most accurate translation possible, don't expect it to be 100% accurate. Due to how Japanese works, the text may not line up with the wording of the English localization either, but the point should still get across. For the initial options here, we choose our type of bullet: normal, fire, crystal, or spark. I have my suspicions that crystal should be ice though. The player chooses fire and on to the main bullet menu. Take a look at that scroll bar. It only takes up about 1/5 of the total options displayed here. Oh geez, that's a lot! Thankfully you can toggle categories with the L and R buttons. The options here are pretty self-explanatory, so I'll show each menu with the translations to look at for yourself. Now this one needs to be explained. Alpha type pierces terrain, Beta type pierces enemies, and Gamma type pierces both enemies and terrain. Once the remaining CP is almost used up, the game asks, confirm the change and return to the slot selection screen? The player chooses yes, and we get one more pop-up which says, the custom is not yet equipped. Do you want to equip it now? The player does so. Now the icon for the weapon shows a fireball to reflect that it is a fire-based attack. Even Beck is sporting a red palette now. Let's review the properties of the weapon the player just created. Bullet type is fire, number of bullets is 5 shots, firing type is circles around the player, performance after launch is straight, speed is slow, penetrating power is gamma type, duration is 3.0 seconds, disappear effect is immediately extinguished, and bullet size is large. The result is a fireball shield that works similarly to the junk shield from Mega Man 7 when it is idle. It can rack up a lot of damage when next to an enemy, and thanks to its gamma type penetration power, it can pierce enemies in terrain without being destroyed. The shield also protects Beck from projectiles, but enough damage will erase some of the fireballs. However, it does look pretty sturdy. Because of its duration setting, the shield lasts for 3 seconds before dissipating. Now the fact that we can use these different elemental weapons from the start of the game is really interesting. Unless this is some new game plus, the game basically gives you all the tools you need to make some real unique stuff right from the get-go. It makes me wonder if we will get anything from defeating the mighty numbers, because this fire shield would represent Pyrogen. Otherwise, this customization system may replace the classic weapon get trope. Either way, this is very cool to see, and geez, when Nitty Crate said the customization is deep, they meant deep! And it gets even deeper because we'll get to see some more options later on. For now, back to the stage. The Round Digger boss appears and pelts Beck with missiles, which the fireball shield makes short work of. It is also during this sequence that we see a hint of glowing energy surrounding Beck. This could be the power of the burst combos kicking in, though it is hard to say what kind of boost he's getting. They say that it can make abilities last longer than usual, but if it's supposed to relate to your custom weapon, I'm not seeing it, because the fire shield still dissipates after 3 seconds. And unfortunately, this boost here will likely remain a mystery until we have the game in our hands. After that, we drop down, and there's a third fidget spinner thingy. In addition, there's a secret passage that you can break open on the left hand side. The player doesn't go in here, but we can see the inside thanks to the trailer. Here you'll notice the new icon on the left hand side. That is for the dowsing ability. This thing is hidden somewhere in the intro stage, and with it equipped, players playing the Nintendo Switch version will feel when a secret is nearby with the HD Rumble feature. Anyway, we go inside the hidden path and find an item called SPEX Agernar. It's tough to tell what this is for, but perhaps SP stands for Special Part, which means you could use this for customizing shots. Back to the Twitch gameplay, watch the last enemy as Beck drops down. See that? Could it be another fidget spinner thing? Anticrates does mention you can increase your CP from enemy drops, so this would confirm it. On the final stretch, the hand grips from Mighty No. 9 return, and there is a red one that travels forward while you power it up or down. Hearts are also back from the previous Mighty Gunvolt. In that game, hearts refilled your health. We assume that's the case here too, though we don't see it in action because this player is that much of a pro that he didn't take any damage. Here is also a peach and yet another fidget spinner thingy. And if you're asking me why I'm calling it the fidget spinner, like literally, what does it look like to you? Because I legitimately don't know what to call it. But anyway, that's the 5th one we've seen so far in this stage. At long last, we have reached the boss shutter. The game tells the player to press plus to go to the pause menu, and they do just that, because it's time for another round of customization. Since last time, the player picked up a second CP upgrade, so the maximum CP currently sits at 2,513, a 6-point increase. By this, we can deduce that the amount of CP increased varies. In slot 3, a normal shot is chosen and we get a look at the disappear effects. Okay, it's boss time. As you probably guessed, our opponent this time is the intro boss of Mighty No. 9, Round Digger. We get a warning siren, followed by a cool little animation that displays the big guy's name. Now we get to see the fruits of our customization. This time the weapon functions similarly to the Ultimate Buster from Mega Man X5, where Beck can fire charge shots without charging. Except in this case, he can fire 3 bullets at once. Let's review the properties of the weapon. Bullet type, normal. Number of bullets, 3. Firing type, single shot. Performance after launch, straight. Speed, normal. Penetrating power, none. Duration, 1.5 seconds. Disappear effect, detonation. Number of explosions, 3 times. Bullet size, large. Attack power is at normal. And element is also at normal. Unlike in Mighty No. 9, the boss room features thin platforms that you can use to dodge his tackle attacks and take cover from incoming missiles. Round Digger himself is more aggressive than he was in Mighty No. 9. He can shoot missiles from ground level or from the ceiling. Plus, he is a lot more jumpy in this game. Other than that, Round Digger goes down without too much trouble, and we can see that you can get a burst combo off of bosses as well, as long as you deal the finishing blow up close. Unfortunately, this is where the gameplay ends, so we don't get to see anything past this point. But thanks to the Mighty Gunvolt website, we can get some details on what does go down next. First is the detailed breakdown of your score. We have the usual categories such as clear time, max burst combo, clear bonus, and max CP. We don't get to see the whole list though, and there's no sign of the food items here. Like the games this crossover is based on, you're given a letter grade going all the way up to S rank. However, there's more. After clearing a stage, you'll be able to choose a reward when you return to the stage select screen. You can only choose one item after clearing a stage, so if you want all the available items, you'll have to clear the stage multiple times. And this, my friends, is the true purpose of the rare item list. It's not a list of items found throughout the stage, but rewards you can choose from upon clearing a stage. And you can only take one at a time. As for the screenshot that they are showing here, the item selected is a part that lets you use the shock element. There's also another CP upgrade and a lightning medallion looking thing. Finally! We finished our detailed playthrough of the city stage. Phew! Now, let's shift gears to the official Mighty Gunvolt Burst trailer. At the beginning, we get to see 2 shots of Beck and GB each. On the left, Beck is in the intro stage again, nothing else to add there. On the right, GB is in the mining stage where Seismic is the robot master. We haven't talked about our favorite striker much in his analysis so far, so let's remedy that. GB has his usual 3 SP bars on the top, and there is Jewel powering him up. According to Inti Crates, Jewel will revive GB and power him up when he dies, just like in his own game. As you can see, the player in this footage has died 2 times already. Other than that, GB's Dart Gun bullets don't appear to tag opponents in this game. It works identically to Beck's Buster Gun. Next, we have Beck at the beginning of Brandish's highway stage with some Gunvolt enemies around. I legitimately thought that this was the intro stage from Gunvolt 2 at first, until I noticed the buildings with the same symbol are also seen in the boss battle with Brandish. That being said, I do have the inkling that both characters might get their own intro stages. I even know who the boss of Gunvolt stage could be. If we take a look at the key art from the website, which was kindly brought to my attention by Deep Weeb on YouTube, there is a mysterious character behind Cryosphere and Gunvolt. Well, after some digging, I figured out who it is. Or rather, what it is. This character matches up with the mech boss that GB and Copen fights in Azure Striker Gunvolt 2. See? There's the twin launchers and its face. So it is safe to assume that this mech boss will be appearing in the game. If not in an intro stage for Gunvolt, then later on, perhaps in one of the end stages. Coming up next is GB in another part of the highway stage. The main difference here is cars that are no longer moving. Also, GB has a custom shot icon that represents his darts. But the next screen is very interesting. The stage itself is most likely the radio tower where Aviator resides. The containers in this shot are also in the shot where we face off with Avi himself. The red color construction gives it away too. But that's not the interesting part. For a split second, we get to see a quick selection wheel that shows off all of Gunvolt's skills that we come to know him for. At the top, Voltaic Chains that uses up 3 SP. To the right, Luke's Caliber that uses 2 SP. On the left, Astrosphere that uses 1 SP. And on the bottom, the Crash Bolt, which is completely free to use, and also GB uses it immediately after. This is the only time we get to see all of these abilities present too, so it would confirm that we do unlock these skills over time, either by clearing stages or otherwise. Also, now it's time for another exciting episode of customization options. This first screen is the same main selection we've seen before, but in English. Thankfully, the trailer does show us some new stuff, such as the so-called activates after firing screen that contains the options straight, homing, curve, and wave. Then we see the curve shot in action and can set the timing to either average or slow. Also, on the custom menu, you can press the plus button at any time to go into test mode, where you can move, jump, and shoot while testing your shot against an enemy. I can definitely see myself experimenting for hours in these customization menus. It looks like a lot of fun. Anyway, next we see Beck using an electrical spread shot. Beck is even sporting a green color here. This shot should be useful for hitting multiple enemies at once. However, the game does note that the more bullets you fire at once, the weaker each individual bullet's attack power is. We also see more options for the spread shot's trajectory: 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. This bit right here really reminds me of how you can edit the trajectory and Model F shots in Mega Man ZX. Very cool. Now we see GB in another secret passage of the oil platform stage as he dodges some fire on top of the water to grab a new pixel sticker. A bomb that is sticker number 114. Also, there's a nice little touch here. You can see Jewel as a little ball of light following GB as he moves. That's cute. Speaking of pixel stickers, here is a small collection of them. From left to right: Beck, Gunvolt, Buster Shot, Flame Shot, maybe a Bubble Shot, Electric Shot, Drill, Missile, Fidget Spinner thingy? Just kidding, but it does remind me of the gyro attack that Gyro Man does though. Then we have a sword, an actual bullet, GB's dart, and numbers 1 through 9. The next point of interest is the mighty numbers themselves, and we get to see all 8 of Beck's siblings on display here. First up is number 1, Pyrogen. He leaves a trail of flames behind him as he moves, but he has a new attack as well. He can punch one side of the wall, and then a flaming fist bursts out of the opposite wall. Number 2 is Cryosphere, and oh my god, is that an icicle baseball bat? Yo, she just hit an ice ball towards Beck! That's so cool! Pun completely intended. I swear, if she says batter up, I am so done. Also, the floor is covered with ice, so ice physics are indeed a thing. And she uses the frozen balls as shield that deflects your buster fire. Number 3, Dynatron, who has seen the least amount of changes from Mighty number 9. She still places bits everywhere and conducts electricity through them. Also, since when is GB hurt by electricity? At least in Blaster Master Zero, it was mutant electricity. So what, is it because it is mighty electricity this time? Number 4, Seismic. He crashes down, creating a shockwave of drills on the ground. Number 5, Battalion. We see its desperation attack from Mighty number 9, but rather than the bullet detonating a little later, it explodes immediately on impact. Number 6, Aviator. He still swoops around the air like before, though the smoke behind him is a nice touch. The biggest change is not himself, but the arena. In Mighty number 9, he had a battle in the air where you could fall to your death if you made a mistake. But this time, it's a flat area for a fair fight. And, Avi being ever the reporter, he's apparently recording this entire fight with Gunvolt for all to see. Now that is pretty funny, not gonna lie. Number 7, Brandish. He jumps up and throws a double-edged sword that lands on the ground and skids along it towards Beck. Number 8, Countershade. Well, there's no more annoying obstacles to deal with. The chandelier in this instance is part of the background. Anyway, Countershade points a targeting laser and fires a bullet right at the screen. Not sure if that's supposed to happen or he missed the mark. Kinda cool either way. Back on the highway stage, we see GB's skill wheel again, but only with his default Astrosphere. In my previous analysis, I noticed that his SP didn't drop when he used the move, but in the trailer, 1 SP is indeed used up, proving that this attack is indeed the Astrosphere. It creates a damaging ring of electricity that lasts for a good while and protects GB from projectiles. For the final shot of the trailer, Beck is back in the second half of the highway stage of a strawberry up top. And with the trailer finished, we're finally nearing the end of this long analysis. But let's take a look at a few more screenshots from the official website. Here we have a shot of Cryosphere's waterworks stage. Although I will say, that typhoon there reminds me a lot of Millis' stage from Gunvolt 2. In the second one, we have Brandish literally slicing the helicopter in half. Whoa there, chill bro. Next we have a shot of what looks like Battalion's military base stage. Judging from the conveyor belt and the saw blades, there's also a giant heart that was a full recovery in the original Mighty Gunvolt game. But the main focus of this screenshot is showing off the custom shots that pierce the terrain, going through the wall. In the next screenshot, we see a demonstration of the homing shots, with the missile sprite we saw from one of the earlier pixel stickers. As for the stage we're in, at first glance the outdoorsy nature made me think of the radio tower. But I actually think we're still in the stage from the previous screenshot, the military base, because the construction of the ground and the walls are completely identical. In this customization screen, there's a new method of fire, cluster shot. We also see an example of exceeding the CP limit. When this happens, you can't use the setup at all. Going off the customization theme, we have screenshots of diagonal shots and a charge shot. In the diagonal picture, there's a new ability on the left hand side. Hard to tell based on the icon, but it looks most like the propeller attack that Beck got from Aviator. Either that or that double-edged sword that Brandish was using. But either way, this does bring up a possibility. Could Beck earn boss powers after all? Over in the charge shot picture, there's another mysterious skill. It does resemble an explosion, so this could be Battalion's explosive shots. But more interestingly, now we're seeing 2 slots for custom weapons displayed at once. Do we eventually gain the ability to swap between 2 preset shots at will? Or perhaps there's a sub-weapon button like in the Mega Man Zero and ZX series. This game gets more interesting by the minute, I tell you what. Also, grapes. And lastly, from the website, more pixel stickers. Interesting ones too. From Mighty No. 9, we have Beck, Call, Dr. Sonda, Dr. Blackwell, Pyrogen, Seismic, Battalion, Brandish, and Ray. From Azure Striker Gunvolt, GB himself, Jewel as a normal girl, Copen, Lola as a muse, Lola as a orb, Nova, Zonda, Tenjion, and Jewel as a muse. Now, I know what you're thinking. Are Ray, Copen, Lola, Nova, Zonda, and Tenjion confirmed to appear in this game then? I can't deny the possibility, but I would caution you not to get your hopes up because these are still pixel stickers, and thus they could be simple references for the purpose of fan service. Welp, now that we've reached the end of this long analysis, so to end it off, let's go for some crazy speculation, because I'm going to paint a roadmap of how this game could work based on the information that we have. Apologies in advance if I accidentally spoil the game for you. First, I'm going to throw the crazy prediction out there that Beck and Gunvolt can have their own separate intro stages. We know that Beck has the city and Round Digger as the boss. As for GV, it could be the airship from the beginning of Gunvolt 2 or in the city below where Copen's first stage took place. As for the boss, we've already touched on that, and that is the mech boss that appeared in the intro stage of Gunvolt 2. If GV doesn't have an intro stage however, then either Round Digger could be replaced with the mech in the city stage, or the mech will be saved for one of the final stages of the game, because in Gunvolt 2, the mech reappeared towards the end as well. And trust me, the mech is definitely going to be in this game because it's right there in the key art. What comes next is very obvious. We would then defeat the 8 mighty numbers. There may be some extra training stages too like we saw glimpses of earlier. Or maybe those training stages are the end stages after all, and Teseo's behind the whole thing. Oh snap. Oh, there could be an intermission stage as well, which Copen could be a good candidate for, unless he's in an end stage as well. Now for the end stages of Mighty Gunvolt Burst. We haven't seen any glimpses of them yet, unless those are those training stages up there. However, if we are to assume that the pixel stickers on the website are not a ruse, we may have our end bosses already. Yes, I'm saying that there could be stages for Ray, Nova, Tenjion, and Zonda. Dr. Blackwell may pop up somewhere in these events too, but then again, he never actually did anything in Mighty No. 9, so we may not actually fight him. Who knows though? But anyway, this would make up for at least 4 or 5 end stages, which sounds about right for standard Mega Man fare. And hey, if Teseo is behind all this, maybe he's the final boss. Or Inti Creates has something more surprising up their sleeves. But that is enough ridiculous predictions for one day. this also officially ends our Mighty Gunvolt Burst analysis. This is literally the longest scripted video I've ever had to make, so I hope you guys have found it at least mildly interesting / entertaining. As for me personally, I'm actually really excited for this game now, just looking at all the cool customization mechanics, and I think Inti Creates is doing some really good work with the Mighty No. 9 cast here. As I said before, this is shaping up to be a redemption for the Mighty crew. After all, Inti Creates has never let me down on a 2D pixel art game before. Even the original Mighty Gunvolt was fun as a free bonus added in with Gunvolt 1. But will this game truly redeem Mighty No. 9 and live up to expectations? Well, we don't have long till we find out, because Mighty Gunvolt Burst is coming to Nintendo Switch on June 15th and on the Nintendo 3DS eShop on June 29th for $10. And you can bet we will be right there at launch to cover the game. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to stay tuned to ShadowRockZX for more on Mighty Gunvolt Burst and other things Mega Man and the like. Until next time, rock on and have a mighty day.